Tonight, the Rovergate case involving a lawsuit brought by the former Prime Minister against a former British High Commissioner goes into overtime. The Inland Revenue Department urges consumers to report abuses in new tax system. And intra-regional airlift continues to remain a barrier, hindering efforts of tourism officials in marketing the island.
This is the Hot 790 News with Daniela Edwin.
Good evening. It is Tuesday, August 22nd, 2023. I am Daniela Edwin. Welcome to the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. We are on full channel 117, Kiss FM, the Caribbean Hot FM mobile app, and the Caribbean Hot 7 TV Facebook page. Not forgetting those of you using the Hot 7 plug and play antenna, thank you for joining us. We begin tonight's broadcast with news that Leader of the Opposition, Alan Chastanet, has declared his intention to appeal the ruling handed down by the High Court on August 18th. The court denied Mr. Chastanet's application for leave to bring a claim of judicial review against the Controller of Customs in his decision to withdraw criminal proceedings against Deputy Prime Minister Ernest Hilaire.
Last week, the judge of the High Court denied my application for leave for a judicial review of the Controller of Customs' decision to withdraw the case against Ernest Hilaire filed by the Department of Customs. This case was brought by Customs when a luxury vehicle, namely a Range Rover, was exported to St. Lucia from the United Kingdom in the name of the St. Lucia High Commission. But upon arrival, such vehicle was claimed personally by Ernest Hilaire. When Customs' requests for proof of individual ownership of the Range Rover were ignored by Hilaire, the Controller of Customs filed a claim.
Speaking at a press conference held at the offices of the Leader of the Opposition on Tuesday, August 22nd, former Prime Minister Alan Chastanet divulged the contents of a ruling by the High Court of St. Lucia in the much-talked-about Range Rover saga. Chastanet had filed a motion in the courts for leave for a claim of judicial review, questioning the decision by the present Comptroller of Customs to discontinue and withdraw proceedings against Deputy Prime Minister Dr. Ernest Hilaire. Hilaire found himself in hot water with the former Comptroller of Customs Peter Chico when it was alleged that he had not produced sufficient documentation to prove ownership of a Range Rover that had been imported into the country. The vehicle had previously been registered to the offices of the British High Commission, but was claimed by Hilaire when it arrived in country. When pressed by former Comptroller Chico to produce proof of ownership, Hilaire produced proof of payment and a bill of lading. This was deemed insufficient by Chico, causing the seizure of the vehicle by the Customs Department. Had Chastanet's judicial review been granted, he says, the question up for judgment would be whether or not the present Comptroller of Customs had the power to withdraw criminal proceedings against Dr. Hilaire without the permission of the Director of Public Prosecutions. The review also sought to establish whether or not the DPP had in fact taken over the prosecution of the case.
Upon the government's assuming office, the new controller, without any evidence of ownership being presented by Hilaire, withdrew the claim. The learned judge last week made clear that he would not consider the facts or merits of the case against Ernest Hilaire, but only contemplated whether our application for judicial review met the necessary threshold. He decided that we did not provide sufficient evidence as to the DPP's official role in the case, and as such, agreed that the Controller of Customs was allowed to use his discretion to withdraw or terminate the case. Surprisingly, considering this was an administrative matter, an application for leave, the judge also awarded cost to the state. This decision in no way exonerates Ernest Hilaire of the allegations made against him.
Shastney states that a case of this magnitude should not be allowed to fall through the cracks. The fact that this matter suggests that a senior member of the government seemingly abused his office for personal gain and alludes to a possible cover-up by a high-ranking public official is sufficient to raise questions about the integrity of the parties involved. As such, the leader of the opposition says he is prepared to pursue this matter at the highest level of the judicial system. No public official, he says, should be allowed to make decisions without transparency and accountability.
The purpose of the judicial review is to hold the Comptroller of Customs accountable to the people and to explain why he chose not to consult the Attorney General, the Director of Public Prosecutions, the Director of Finance, or the former Comptroller of Customs before deciding to withdraw the case. In his position, one of the most important civil service positions, integrity must guide all his decisions.
Reporting for the Hot 7 TV News, I am Eldridge Charles.
With the Health and Security Levy, which took effect on August 2nd, 2023, the Inland Revenue Department puts the public on alert to report abuses of the new tax policy. We hear more in this report from Glenn Simon.
Introducing a Health and Security Levy.
The government's policy decision to implement a health and security levy of 2.5% on select goods and services has the public and key stakeholders requesting clarification and information on the details of its implementation. In response, the Inland Revenue Department (IRD) has deployed officers to numerous VAT-registered entities to clarify how the levy is to be applied. Felicia Ellie is the acting Deputy Comptroller of the IRD.
We are charged with the responsibility to administer the tax laws, quite a number of them in St. Lucia, and to ensure that things are in place to accommodate the taxpayers from across St. Lucia, across the world, who have dealings with St. Lucia, and also to ensure that the laws are administered in a manner that is fair.
She explained that via the Department of Finance, the two agencies charged with administering the Health and Security Levy are the Inland Revenue Department and the Customs and Excise Department.
This is quite a new tax for all of us, and whereas on the goods part, we know it's both on goods, imported goods, and on services. Whereas Customs is charged with the responsibility for the goods part, Inland Revenue has the responsibility to collect the levy on the services part.
The tax official noted that though the levy came into effect on August 2nd on both goods and services, for the months of August and September, a zero rating has been applied to services. The 2.5% levy on select services will commence in October 2023.
Businesses would have the entire month of October to collect, and they are to remit the collection for that month by the 21st of November. So the levy basically is collected 21 days after a month has ended.
The acting Deputy Comptroller also sought to explain the computation of the levy, which she stressed should only be collected by VAT-registered businesses.
Just by way of an example, I will say if you require to do whatever work it is on your motor vehicle that costs $100, the levy would be applied at the rate of 2.5%. So it would mean that the amount you'd have to pay would be $100 plus the levy, which is 2.5%, which makes it $102.50. Thereafter, since VAT is a final tax, we just want to make it clear that since VAT is a final tax, the VAT would be charged on that amount.
She said the IRD is actively monitoring the implementation of the levy and had a strong message for potential abusers of the tax policy.
It is an offense to collect any tax if you are not obligated to do that. For instance, if you are not a registrant for the levy and you collect the levy, then it is an offense. And you definitely can be charged for doing so.
The Inland Revenue Department, she says, will continue to put out advisories for both the public and the business community on the implementation of the Health and Security Levy. For the National Competitiveness and Productivity Council, Glenn Simon reporting.
While St. Lucia has made strides to boost its regional connectivity through a new partnership with Caribbean Airlines, the woeful state of regional travel still remains a hindering factor to the expansion of the island's tourism product. At Monday's pre-cabinet press briefing, the tourism minister stressed the need to improve travel within the region, as St. Lucia is a preferred destination. He also spoke on the impact the increase in airfares is having on travel. Karim Nelson tells us more.
The Caribbean, known for its breathtaking landscapes and vibrant cultures, is facing a significant hurdle that threatens to impede its economic and touristic growth: the poor state of regional air travel. Despite its attraction as a prime tourist destination, the region grapples with a range of challenges that hinder seamless connectivity and efficient transportation among its islands. While air travel is a lifeline for the region's economies, the absence of consistent and reliable air links between certain islands undermines not only local businesses but also tourism. Travelers often find themselves having to navigate convoluted routes with multiple layovers, leading to unnecessary delays and increased expenses. This predicament was apparent subsequent to the culmination of the 2023 Carnival season, whereby collectives of visitors were left stranded at the George F.L. Charles Airport due to the lack of flights available. Despite the perennial issue, Tourism Minister Dr. Ernest Hilaire notes that strides have been made on the part of regional air carriers to expand their services to increase the number of flights available to and from St. Lucia.
We've had two positive developments. One, Caribbean Airlines have expanded their service to St. Lucia. They're now doing a daily out of Trinidad, and they're expecting as they get more planes, which is their biggest challenge, and the challenge for most airlines now not having the equipment, and of course in some instances the crew as well, for them to be able to have normal service. But Caribbean Airlines is expanding, and they indicate to us they will continue to expand. And on the weekend, on Saturday night, they actually hosted an event, Welcome Home, right here in St. Lucia, as part of the celebration of the expansion of that service. So we're looking forward to Caribbean Airlines expanding even more. Inter-Caribbean has been trying. They too have challenges with equipment, that they are waiting more planes for them to be able to expand their service.
At a previous pre-cabinet press briefing, Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre made it known that a proposal aimed at remedying the plights associated with regional connectivity was on the table to be discussed by CDB member states. That meeting was held over the weekend, but no update has been provided. Nonetheless, the Deputy Prime Minister underscored the need for a sustainable means of travel to be established among the territories so that the true potential of St. Lucia's tourism product can come to fruition.
I know the Prime Minister and some of the other Prime Ministers met on the weekend to discuss regional air travel, and this morning I'm sure we'll get an update on exactly what the decisions were and how we're going to move forward. And like you said, we've spoken about this many times in the past. St. Lucia needs, a stronger regional connectivity. St. Lucia is a preferred destination, and we need to be able to connect more with the Leeward Islands and with Barbados. Trinidad seems to be well connected now. We're well connected with Guyana through British Airways. So the question of how do we connect more with the Northern Caribbean and of course with Barbados.
However, these improvements will require sustained commitment and investment as the Caribbean strives to maintain its status as a sought-after tourist destination and support its economies. Addressing the poor state of regional travel is essential. Only through cooperative efforts and comprehensive reforms can the Caribbean islands overcome these challenges and create an air travel experience that matches the region's undeniable allure. Reporting for the Hot 7 TV News, I am Kareem Nelson. Hello.
Still in the first segment of the broadcast, the POV. The POV provides you, our valued viewers and listeners, an opportunity to sound off on trending issues in the news only from your point of view. The Rovergate saga continues as former Prime Minister Alan Chastanet moves ahead with an appeal following a court ruling in the case against the former British High Commissioner, Dr. Ernest Hilaire. But is it much ado about nothing? Do you believe Dr. Hilaire should be allowed to keep his vehicle? We put the question to you, and here is what you had to say.
Because he had bring one down on his name already, and you only allowed to bring one vehicle, and he bring two vehicles down. You use a vehicle for government thing purpose.
It should not be allowed because I feel it's unfair.
Yes, and I want him to keep it and tell Chastanet to go and sleep.
It's just a vehicle. To me, you should just keep the vehicle. We have bigger fish to fry. To me, so much has gone because of that vehicle already. Just let them and hold that vehicle. It's just a vehicle. That's material things. To me, it is what it is. Instead of rehashing everything that has gone already, look now, we can even shop. These things are more important than a bloody vehicle they're making so much fuss about. Look about the poor people, the groceries, the inflation. See about that. It's just a vehicle. Let them and keep the dumb vehicle. If all you know, in 2 years, you go and change it.
As an ordinary man, who am I to say that? Because people that speak out normally get victimization, especially by this government. So that's how it is. So if you're not strong and you speak against the government and what they're doing, that is the reality of the situation for you. They come for you. And he's particularly one who says he's in a position to do that. So when you watch it, that's what he's doing. But that's the only time they keep their word.
Coming up next, a former WICB CEO and former tourism minister weighs in with future recommendations for St. Lucia's hosting of CPL matches following the rained-out games. And St. Lucia's sprint superstar finishes 5th in a race against 9 of the world's fastest women. Stay tuned for the details to these stories and so much more coming up right after this.